Hi guys, so it has been a couple days since my last garden update, so I honestly don't even remember what all I told you, but everything is planted and we are all good to go. So I'm going to um, take you through, show you where things ended up, and actually, surprisingly, I almost ran out of room, which is a little worrisome because there are things that I didn't even plant that were on my list. So basically what I did is all of the section that was going to be perennial stuff I didn't end up planting in my garden. So when the guy that comes to till it for me every year, I watched the way that he does it, and I think that it would just cause him a lot of issues if I planted perennial stuff in the same section that he needs to till for annual stuff. He would be able to do it. It would just make his life a lot more difficult because he would have to watch out for that section. I would have to find a way to mark that section. So I think what I've decided to do is just back. So, aren't my peonies? I love my peonies, you guys. It's like, ugh, they're so pretty. I'm also watering. So I have to water in 3 sections. I have multiple sprinklers and I tried to connect them, and we just don't have enough water pressure because we're pretty far away from the spigot. And the way that I had it set up right now, also one of the hose kind of leaks, so that's probably the real reason. But if I connect multiple sprinklers, the second sprinkler doesn't get any pressure. So well, I do water it in 3 separate sections. It works fine. Um, so yeah, let's let's go to the back so I can show you where I'm talking about doing the perennial stuff. So that would be a asparagus patch and a rhubarb patch. I'm not super concerned that I didn't get any herbs into my garden. Um, those, it doesn't really bother me if I don't have an herb patch. But back here, so this is the back side of our pool. So the garden is here, and I think that just here I'm going to do it because we don't have anything planted here. That's actually a rogue mulberry tree that needs to be cut down. So there's not actually anything planted over here. So I think I'm just going to till um, right here and do an asparagus and a rhubarb patch. If you get too far this way, like, so I'm probably 15 feet out. This section of our yard floods really bad, as well as that section over there in the low spots. So that is why my garden is the size that my garden is. I would love for it to be more square instead of this super long rectangle, but I had to work with where our yard floods, and then also we have a raised a mounded septic system that limits how far I can go wide. So we're relatively narrow widthwise and super long. So I'm pretty sure that this ended up being between 15 and 20 wide. I haven't measured, but it's about 65 to 67 long. So we'll start at this back side. So before anyone comments, I'm fully aware that this is going to be a mess. Like I said, I actually was running out of room. So this whole row is winter squash. Yes, these are planted closer than I originally planned. I also planted more than I originally planned because the only place that I found them sold them in 6 packs, and I didn't want to let them go to waste. So they are all here. We're just going to see how well we can manage. The same, this is a row of 6 zucchinis. So obviously they have room this direction that they can go. They are just closer together this way. I really should have only planted like 2, at the most 3, and I didn't. So yeah, I understand that's going to be a mess, but you know what? I'm going to have a ton of zucchini and squash, so I'm okay with it. Right here, I have a double row of corn. Obviously, I planted seeds, so nothing's coming up. Then I have a row of marigolds. And then here is a row of green beans, and they are bush green beans. Here I actually have a row of lettuce and a row of spinach. I ran out of blue tags, and this was the last thing that I got in the ground, so that is why they are on the same, but they are straddling that sign basically. So like you can still see the spinach row a little bit, and then the lettuce is over here. Then I have 2 rows of cucumbers. I only planted 4. This one is a Marketmore cucumber, and this is a burpless cucumber. I haven't planted either type of these cucumbers. The only cucumbers I've ever planted before were pickle cucumbers. So this will be a learning curve for me having larger cucumbers. I planted these based on spacing that I saw on the internet, as well as how big my cucumber plant was last year. So I am curious to see if, since it's a bigger cucumber, if the plant gets bigger. That makes sense to me, but we'll see. So they might be too close together, but oh well. I have a row of beets that I planted, a row of radishes, a row of rainbow mixed carrots. Then I have another row of marigolds. Here I have a row of green onions. So these are the ones that I told you that I was going to take from the store and plant. I have been cutting them inside for a little while, so I planted those, and then right there it stops and it actually switches to seeds that I purchased. So this is kind of my test row. If I don't get green onions, then it's not the end of the world, but I was just super curious on which way works better. Then I have 2 rows of Harvest Onion Blend, which is just yellow, white, and red onion all mixed together. I didn't do them in any sort of order. I planted them in the order that I got them off the bag. I planted really close to 100 onions. So again, first time doing that. Well, it's my first time doing most of this actually. So here I have 5 celeries. I actually found little plants because I didn't get mine planted in the house in time. And then down here I have kohlrabi. I just have 3 of them, mainly because I've never tried kohlrabi, so I might not like it. And so I only got 3. Next year, if I like it, next year I'll do seeds. Here I have 2/3 of a row of banana peppers, and the back 3 are sweet snack peppers. I have 2 rows of jalapeno peppers, which I'm super excited about. We use jalapenos for all sorts of things, so I'm really glad that I have so many. A row of marigolds. Sorry, I'm gonna have to get further away because I don't want to get wet. We'll zoom in a little. But after the marigolds, I have a row of basil. Then I have a row of 3 cherry tomato plants, and that back 4th one is actually a big Better Boy tomato, just because this whole row is, let's see. Sorry if the focus is switching back and forth from my finger to the garden, but this row right here is all Better Boy tomatoes, and then I had 1 extra, so I put it over there because I was 1 short. And then I have 2 rows of Roma tomatoes, and then this section over here is just all flowers and weeds. So I have been taking my tiller in between these plants, that is why I ran out of room, even though I didn't plant everything in here. I adjusted the spacing, plus I had an extra row of jalapenos and an extra row of Roma tomatoes that I was not planning on. So that took up some extra room. But I went a little bit wider with my rows once I realized I wasn't going to do the perennial stuff, and I got a little too carried away. However, it has been super nice to be able to go through with my tiller and go in between. I can go in between each individual plant on the tomatoes, and then all of the rows going down. I can do all of those. So the only place that I didn't do that was these, because I planted these before I had the mesh fence up, and my chickens got in there and they moved all of the flower seeds around, and so I didn't want to go through there with a tiller because I don't have things. I have flowers growing, but they're not growing in the straight rows that I planted them in. So like I said, didn't want to take the tiller through there. So once the flowers start growing, I plant zinnias so heavily through there that you can't even see the weeds. So I'm really not worried. I might have to go in and weed in between some of the sunflowers. I'm not sure yet, but we will see because it just kind of depends on how they go. Also, I almost forgot to show you, I have a um, jelly bean blueberry plant, blueberry bush right there. Um, we'll see how that does. I've never had fruit. So then I forgot to show you all these extra things that I don't actually have in the garden plot. But here up by the house, I have just a little thing of strawberries. And then I have my gardening bags, which I honestly don't think are going to do very well. I think I need to do a softer soil mix because the ground gets really, really hard when it's dry. So here I have one lonely potato growing. These are carrots that the ants have invaded, and then there's some more radishes. So those were also a test, so I'm not going to be hugely disappointed if those things don't work out. I mean, I'll try again, but I have 2 of the 3 things planted in my garden, and honestly, I planted the potatoes because I had some potatoes in a bag that had started to get roots on them. So yeah, but anyways, just wanted to get those in because I almost forgot. But that is the tour of my extremely large garden, and I need to move the hose to the second section and get that watered. But I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you have any comments, I would love to see them below. Would love to have a chat with you guys about your gardens. This is mostly experimental for me. So last year I grew jalapenos and tomatoes and zinnias, and that was it. So, oh, and the one plant of one cucumber plant. So we will see. This is going to be a lot, and that is why I'm happy I have the tiller this year, because if I had to weed this whole thing by hand every single time, it would be a weedy mess. Probably still gonna end up being a fairly weedy mess, especially if we end up going on vacation. That seems to be usually when I lose my momentum, is when we leave for a week on vacation and I come back and it's like crazy weedy. Then I usually just let them go, but I don't know that we're actually taking a vacation this year. We at least haven't planned one. So yeah, so thank you so much for watching, and if there's anything else garden related that you would like to see, I'd love to see in the comments. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.